Hi, in this video I will talk about 8M research design. In another video I talked about research design types. 8M research design applies mainly to correlational studies, as we would find them in survey research, for instance. So, what is 8M research? Is it 1M means McDonald's, 2M M&Ms, 3M 3M like the company? And what is 8M? Do you know what I'm referring to? Let's find out. Next. 8M research. 8M research, I'm referring to moderation effects, mediation effects, moderated mediation effects, multi-wave, multi-source, multi-level, multi-method, multi-study. Do you know what that means? I will not go in detail, but nevertheless I will briefly introduce each of these 8 M's from now on. First, talking about moderation and mediation. First, moderation. Moderation is here, as you can see in this figure. We have a cause and an effect, A to B, and that is moderated by another variable, C. To give you an example, A could be I like dogs. B is I buy dogs. A, I like dogs, and then I buy a dog. And now the moderation is C could be I have a cat. Maybe I like dog, but I have a cat. I will not buy a dog because dogs and cats don't like each other that much. All right, talking about mediation. A has an influence on B. B has an influence on C. A, I like dogs. B, I buy a dog. C, I go more often into the forest to take a walk. Okay, maybe not the best example. Anyway, I think you get the idea. And then we can also combine moderation and mediation. It could be moderated mediation. As you can see a figure, A has an influence B, B has an influence on C, and the relationship between A and B is moderated or influenced by another variable. And that eventually has also an indirect effect on the final outcome variable C. Now, coming to a multi-wave and multi-source. Multi-wave, as you can see, we have different time points. T stands for time 1, T is time 2, and T3 means time point 3. So we measure certain variables over multiple time points. It could be also very often in organizational behavior research, we have certain attitudes, and then we measure time 1 at now, T2 maybe 3 months later, and then again T3 1 year later. So we would like to see certain effects, such as in T1, I receive a pay raise, T2 3 months later, I'm highly motivated to work hard, and T3 maybe later on productivity goes up. So these multi-wave designs are very common in organizational behavior research. We have cause and effect over multiple time points. The advantage is it reduces common method bias. You see CMB stands for common method bias, one of our greatest enemies of research, particularly in organizational behavior and also management. I have another video where I will talk in more detail about common method bias and other major problems in survey research. Such kind of designs can help to establish causality or near causality. And there's also different statistical ways how then trying to establish causality. At least it reduces common method bias. Then we have multi-source designs. Here we combine different data sources. It could be survey and archival data, or it could be also different people. As you might remember, I'm a researcher doing research on expatriation. And we can look at the spouse and the influence of the spouse on the expatriate. And studies found then that the spouse has a major impact on the success of expatriates. Again, such kind of designs greatly help to reduce common method bias. Common method bias means that data is collected from the same source, and that maybe in a survey I respond, my attitude, I like this and that, and then I have an outcome variable, I do this and that, and it's highly overlapping, or any results I then do is inflated, because very simple reasons such as I'm a very positive and happy person. When I get a survey, everywhere I will tick 7, 7, 7, 7 means highly agree and so forth, and that would lead to false results. Now, talking about multi-level. In multi-level, we combine different level of analysis. I have here one example you can see. It could be one level would be very typically individual, you or me, or one person. And of course, people are nested in certain groups. Maybe you're working in an organization, in a company, you're a student in a university or at a school, and then you're nested. And the challenge then is that your results as an individual is also influenced by the greater group organization you're embedded in. And that would be also very important to operate it accordingly, at the correct level. Again, I have another video session where we'll talk in more detail about multi-level analysis. It would be very important to measure each variable at the correct variable. This one example I have at the bottom, it shows a very typical research design where maybe individual attitude has an influence on individual behavior. And in some organizations, it really helps or is being inhibited because of the environment. To give you again maybe some very basic example, some people, they like to drink alcohol, and if they go to a pub where everyone drinks a lot, that's the higher level order, then this person will drink even more. Or the opposite would be if that person who likes to drink alcohol goes to church, maybe while in church that person will not drink that much alcohol. 7 and 8. Multi-method and multi-study. Multi-method is a research design where you combine different methods. You could combine qualitative and quantitative research. These studies are very exciting and could be very rich. We don't see that many multi-method studies. They're very difficult to execute and even more difficult later to publish multi-method studies. Very typical example would be we start with interviews, we develop hypotheses, and then we test them on the survey. Could be also the opposite, the other way around. Then we have multi-study designs. That means we have many studies in one single research paper. Also, that would be very common experimental designs, meaning you conduct a series of experiments. If you look into these organizational psychology journals, you will find very often they conduct 3 or 4, sometimes even 5 experiments, and they all put them together into one paper. And it could be also combined. You combine different methods. You conduct interviews, then you conduct 2 experiments, and then you would have a multi-method, multi-study research design. So I've introduced you all these different 8 M's. Why do we need 8 M's? Or why do people like them so much? One major reason is because it increases validity of findings. Remember, I talked about common method bias, one of our biggest enemies in management research. If you combine these different M's, such as multi-source, multi-wave, multi-study, and so forth, you can reduce that. And another very important point is also having more M's. Particularly think of these moderated mediation models and so forth. They show very complex realities and they test these complex realities. And life is not that simple, as we all know. So we would like to combine these different models, different M's, to really go deeper and enrich our understanding. And then, of course, many of us, we would like to publish in good journals. And sadly, that's reality. If you have only a very simple model, A has an influence on B, you will not be able to publish in a major journal. So you combine these different M's. You don't need to combine all 8 M's in one model, of course, but this is fairly common that you combine 2, 3, 4, or 5 of these M in one research paper. All right, then let me conclude this video. I talked about what 8 M's are and why do we need them. I hope that came across. For you, and also for me and myself, whenever I design a new research project, I try to include multiple M's in research design. All right, that's it for now. Bye bye.